now, as you've been hearing this morning, Prince Harry's in the UK and he's going to be attending the WellChild Charity Awards in London later today. He's a patron of the charity, which supports seriously ill children and their families. Speculation is rife about whether Harry will meet his father while in the UK. Maybe you think it's time for them to reconcile, and what would be the advice that you would give? Why don't we start with Carrie on this?
I want to pick up on what Cheryl said, because I think when you're given a flagship programme where you are a platform for morality and values and all of those things, who more than that than our royal family? So I think the royal family, who don't have any governing power, this is exactly what we want to see. We want to see really great examples of loving one another, of forgiving one another. I think those things are so important. And I feel like it's almost a revolutionary thing to say, I want the two to get together and work it out and love each other and forgive.
I feel exactly the same. I would love them to get together. I'd love them to be happy.
What
I'd love everyone. I want those grandbabies to see their grandpa. I think, I think the king would be absolutely kind of luxuriating the love of those two little people. And it seems a terrible shame for them not to meet him. I feel exactly what you feel. But Albie, is it doable? I think you're going to tell me that you've done it.
I have done it. It is always doable, but it's got to be done at the two people involved's own pace and in their own time. So I had a very difficult relationship with my father growing up. My parents separated when I was about 6 years old. And then there's a picture of me, my dad and my two sisters there. And then when I became an adult, after that very different relationship during our childhood, we got to a point where I just decided, do you know what? I don't want a relationship with my father anymore. It's not bringing me any joy. I would just like us to be separate for some time. And then it was probably about 18 months ago, I was in the gym talking to a friend that I'd met in the gym, just general chit-chat really. And he told me that his mother had terminal cancer and was very unwell. And I suddenly got this light bulb in my head, and I thought to myself, well, if I had heard that news about my father, I would have wished that before it got to that point, that I had done something to try and mend that relationship before it got to this point where we couldn't really do anything together anymore. So then I sent him a WhatsApp message and I said, let's catch up. It's been such a long time. Let's go out for dinner or something. We caught up. We had a lovely dinner where that was actually on the day that we reconciled.
Your joy.
And he basically said all of these things that I wish he'd told me throughout my childhood. Like, he was proud of me. He'd seen me on television and he spoke about the pride that he'd seen listening to me on the radio and hearing me on television. And honestly, it has been the single biggest thing that has improved my mental health over the past 12 or 18 months.
Wow.
I'd suffered from depression for years, been on antidepressants, been in therapy for ages. And that got me to a point where I was ready to get back in touch with him. But it has been the single biggest thing to improve my mental health. And I think if Prince Harry and King Charles can get to a point where they can make a step like I took, and one of them's going to have to take the first step. It might be Harry, it might be the king that's got to do it, but one of them's got to make the first step. I promise them it will improve their lives by 100%.
Well, I think that was an incredible story and very beautifully told by you and very honestly told. I really do. And thank you very much for that, because that will mean a lot to people.
It's good to tell it, Vanessa.
Yes, it is good. It's very good to hear it. And I'm very, very pleased that it's been such a kind of great boon and bonus to your life. It's wonderful, isn't it, to hear that? Cheryl, as I said, I've been reading your book and there's this absolutely heartbreaking part where your mother passes away. Did you know I was going to say that?
Yeah, I did, because I was just going to say, from Albie's story, I wish I could have another day with my mum, because I'd fallen out, mum and I had fallen out, and literally 3 days before she was supposed to have a triple heart bypass operation, she passed away, and we weren't talking, and she didn't see my son, who was only months old, and I regret that we never made it up. But you know what? I feel like there's lots of signs that she has forgiven me, and I've forgiven myself for it. I've had to, otherwise, like you say, you can't go on. And do you know what? I really wish King Charles and Prince Harry would go in a room and just hug it out. Just absolutely hug it out. And like I said, communicate and educate each other. That's what they do, talk and listen. And teach and learn, and I'm sure they've got a lot to say on it, and I'm sure it might get a little bit heated, but just listen to what each other has to say and then by the time they can, they can break bread together. I feel that can happen.
See, I wonder if what people are going to suggest is that they don't talk about it at all, because sometimes that's the only way forward is, you've had this terrible fallout, right, but do we want to get together? Yes. Right, can we just put the whole thing behind us rather than trying to dissect it and kind of examine it?
That's what my dad did.
Because your dad obviously just said, look, I'm proud of you, I love you, you've done so well, and you didn't kind of try and unpick all the terrible things that you've done to each other or whatever. So maybe people are going to suggest that. I don't know. We can't tell till we speak to everybody on the phone. So let's go straight to Barbara. Barbara, hello, you're in Brighton. Great to hear from you. Thank you for ringing. Hi, sweetheart. What do you think should happen in that meeting if they have the meeting?
Well, I think really that King Charles, because he's the head of the Church of England, I think he has a duty as the head of the Church of England to show everybody what Jesus taught, that you must have compassion towards those that have done you harm. And I think, that's most important, that he should do that, even in his official capacity, because Prince Harry's done some terrible things, that none of us find acceptable. But King Charles is the head. He's the head of the family, and I think he's the one that has to initially show the way to Prince Harry.
I think it might be off-putting, though, or even a really kind of insurmountable obstacle to this, that I don't know whether the king will feel that he can entirely trust Harry not to trot straight from a meeting to a press conference or give an interview or talk about what's happened behind closed doors, because he's certainly done it before, and he even did it fairly recently, didn't he? I wonder whether that might make it very difficult whether the king's the head of the Church of England or not.
Well, I don't know, because I think he has to forget his personal feelings and he has to look at it for the good of other people, not just himself. He must be unselfish about it, if you like, and consider others, because there are plenty of people that forgive people for things that they've done wrong. And you don't necessarily have to believe, it can just be that you want to show compassion, really. That's what I think needs to show. And Prince Harry is only young, really, still in a way. And I think he's made a lot of mistakes. I don't necessarily think it will come from him. I think it has to come from Prince.
All right, Barbara, thank you very much for that. I just very quickly ask my panel, do you think Barbara's right that essentially it's the father, because the father is kind of the head of the relationship, also the head, in this instance, happens to be the head of the Church of England and also the king, that he kind of has a responsibility, a duty to do this, whether he really wants to or not? I'm sure he must want to, mustn't he?
Well,
what do you think?
I think they're both adults.
Yeah.
And I decided I wanted to make up with my father. It wasn't him that did it to me. Mm-hmm. And if we'd have used that argument, I was expecting him to apologise. We probably wouldn't have reconciled. Mm-hmm. And I sort of think, if you want to make up with someone, if that is what you want to do, whether you are the father or the son or the mother or the daughter, the senior or the junior, but you're both adults, you can make that decision and take action yourself.
Yeah, I mean, I've recently had a stroke. I think it's common knowledge in May, and I say time is too short, and anything can happen at a turn. Literally, George Michael, turn another corner. Literally, you can not be here.
Yeah.
So do not waste precious time. We're called humankind. Let's be kind humans. That's all we need to do. And the head of state, whether it's your next door neighbour, whether it's the person down the shop, just be tolerant. Just be tolerant. And your views are valid. Of course they're valid. Yeah. And if they're hurtful to you, what things maybe King Charles might have said to Harry and his wife and whatever, or the other way round, it's just kind of, look, you just need to go, we agree to disagree, but we need to be together.
Okay. Carrie?
Yeah, I think that there is great power in humbling yourself. And I think that's something we need to understand, that when you choose to, with all the power you have, to humble yourself before whoever that person is, to me, that's power.
Right.
Let's
go to Angel. Angel's on the line in London. Hi, Angel. Thanks for calling. What do you think about this? Obviously, it's difficult, very difficult, isn't it? So much water under the bridge.
Yeah, definitely. Hi, everyone.
Hi.
Vanessa. Yeah, I definitely feel like this. This is a topic that I've actually discussed quite a lot with my family. And we've always said that, since Diana's passing, it's like almost as if Harry's kind of spirit kind of broke. And over the years, I think he'd always, seeked that love of a female as much as he was doted on by the Queen. I think obviously it was very different. He really had that close connection with his mum, I'd say even more so than William. Right. And I think he'd always kind of yearned for that love and attention. Hence, over the years, he'd acted out and done certain things in the press, but that's kind of normal. As you're growing, you will make mistakes, you will do certain things, regardless if you are, a part of the monarchy or not, you're still a human being.
True,
so
absolutely
I think,
true.
Also, his relationship with Meghan definitely had a major effect on how he had thought. I think she kind of played on his vulnerabilities and really kind of steered the ship, but in the wrong way. I think the whole Oprah interview, it really took a turn.
Angel, we're going way back now. So let's just talk about this meeting, because that's why we're talking about it, because it might even be happening today. What should happen at the meeting?
I think that we should let bygones be bygones. Again, life is short, which everybody has said, and it's time now. The grandchildren need to be with their family. Harry needs to build that connection back with everybody else.
Angel, great to talk to you. I'm going to move on just because I've got loads of calls pouring in on this one. I'm not surprised at all either. Let's talk to Mac in Brighton. Hello, Mac. What's your perspective on all of this?
Hello, Vanessa and team. My perspective is no, not at all. He's a disgrace to the royal family, and he's also a disgrace to the military. And I'll tell you why. It's because when he wrote his book about his life, and he killed 30 or 40 Afghanistan rebels, he broke the soldier's code. And the soldier's code is that you don't tell civilians what goes on.
I knew you were going to say that. But, Mac, don't you think, though, that even if you've done something like that, and obviously I know it caused colossal offence, and you're absolutely right, it broke the soldier's code, but don't you think even so, he could be forgiven, and family relationships, you might think, even take precedence over things like that, and everybody makes mistakes, all of us, all the time.
Well, I'm thinking about all the. I'm a veteran myself. All the veterans that have served who've never written books are absolutely disgraced by him.
All right. Well, thank you very much indeed. I mean, that book had a hell of a lot of ramifications, didn't it? Ripples going out.